y'all, Stephanie with Minimalist Mom. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you for sticking with me for a little bit of a break. We went to Japan. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I've been talking about that trip. So that was an awesome mission trip. We got back. It's been a week now, but just haven't got back into the swing of YouTube. And if you've watched my last video about social media, then you know that this is just for fun. So I needed time to do other things, and now I have a little bit of time to hopefully make a couple of videos. So again, gonna be the same outfit if I'm able to make more than one video this morning. But I'm gonna get right to it now. So I wanted to do a video series on kind of each room, my top 5 things to declutter first. So I showed you the way my house looks and kind of what we have, and I've talked about where to begin on minimalism if you're just starting out and how to get your family on board, stuff like that. But I wanted to give you now just a few tips that are just my ideas on, as you go room by room, things to get rid of first. Because it might be overwhelming to walk into a room and say, okay, I want to simplify, but what things should I look to target first? So I'm going to do a little series on that, and the first one I'm going to start with is your kitchen. I think the kitchen is a great place to start decluttering when you're beginning to want to simplify, because it's usually a busy area. I think for a lot of us, it's kind of the heart of the home. We're in there making meals anywhere from 1 to 3 times a day, depending on the way your family is. It gets messy often because of that. It gets cleaned often because of that. Stuff is brought in and out in the kitchen because you're always having to buy food, and then there's trash, and so there's just an ongoing, the kitchen has a lot going on. So if you declutter your kitchen first, I feel like you see the impact of the work of simplifying immediately, because you're in that space so often. You're opening those cabinets and not being overwhelmed, and that has, you know, that payoff trigger to make you want to go ahead and keep simplifying other areas. So I'm going to give you just 5 areas to declutter in your kitchen. I suggest always setting a timer when you're decluttering things, because I think it helps you to not overthink what you're getting rid of and just really move along quickly and not getting overwhelmed, saying I'm going to give maybe 15 minutes to each of these areas. So let's get right to what to declutter first. So my number 1, and this is only if you're a mom or even a grandma, I guess if you have children in your home, is Sippy Cups. You do not need 1,000 Sippy Cups. Now if you are bottle feeding a baby, obviously you're going to need more than 1 bottle, but other than bottles, I'm talking, and even those you can simplify, because you don't need a ton of them, because you need to be washing them, because who wants a nasty old formula or even breast milk bottle sitting around? So simplify the amount of bottles you have, but especially the amount of sippy cups and just kids cups in general. Now part of this is my take on not having a lot of sippy cups has always been each child can have 1 sippy cup, right? And what that does is that prevents you from having a sippy cup that is rotting, disgusting in the back of your car because you didn't go get it, because your child didn't bring it out of the car when they got out of the car. I mean, even at a really young age, like 14, 15 months, I feel like kids can get out of the car and you can make sure they get their cup with them, and that goes in and gets washed if they took their sippy cup somewhere. It prevents them from being under the bed and being nasty and all those places. If you only have 1 of it and you know that your kid wants milk at nap time or when they wake up from nap time or breakfast or whatever it is, you're going to make sure that you keep track of that 1 sippy cup. You're not going to want to lose it, right? Because you don't have 15 more in the cupboard so that you can lose 5 around the house, and that's disgusting. Nobody likes rotten old milk because you're going to be keeping up with them. So I limit sippy cups to 1 per child. I also think this encourages you, and this is just, you know, my own personal bent as a mom, to allow your kids from a very young age to use real cups. So we don't do sippy cups at the table. Sippy cups are for like nap time, right? Or if we need to go in the car somewhere, the younger ones can have a sippy cup if we're going for a while, or like going to the park maybe. But other than that, I think it's really important that kids start learning to use real cups. So we do have a few small plastic cups, but I also welcome them to use like our mugs, because they're easy to hold because they have a handle. And even our glasses. I mean, I would rather break a few glasses, but our kids not be on sippy cups till they're 10. So I suggest having very few sippy cups. Simplify that area first. Have your child have their favorite one, and then ditch the rest. And then just stop buying them too. Stop buying all of that plastic. Number 2, pots and pans. So if you have a typical stove, you have 4 burners that you could be using at once. So I don't think you really need many more than 4 pots or pans, because there's no way you could be using more than that at one time. Typical pots and pan sets come with like, you know, like a small boiling pot with a handle and then a larger one. Well, do you really need both, or could you get away with a larger one and use it like you would a smaller one if you're using a smaller amount of things? But you might want the larger one. How many frying pans do you really need? How many frying pans would you ever be using more than once? Because if you're washing your dishes, then you're always going to have that available to use. So you wouldn't have one dirty and one used. You would cause you again to wash the dishes, similar to the idea of the sippy cup. Rather than having so much stuff that you can allow things to be disgusting and dirty and messy, just keep up with your stuff and you won't need as much stuff. So I've showed you before on pots and pans I have more than 4, but barely. And I really suggest looking at that and saying, what do you actually use? Are you someone that ever uses a small saute pan? Or would you just as well use your bigger frying pan for that? Do you need all of those lids, or do some of those you never ever use a lid? Don't be afraid to simplify to what you actually use. I think a lot of minimalism is living in the present and knowing who you actually are and who your family actually is, so that you live in a way that reflects that. So rather than saying every single American family or European or the whole world family needs X amount of things, look at what does your family actually use. What kind of cook are you? Are you a gourmet cook that needs a lot of different things, or do you tend to keep things simple, or does your family prefer to eat out? I mean, like, look at what you actually use and keep only those things, and part with the other things and allow them to be used by somebody who can enjoy them and love them and use them, rather than having them collect dust in your cupboard and then being a disaster every time you try and go get your pots and pans out, and then you're overwhelmed and you don't want to cook as often because your kitchen's a disaster. So simplify your pots and pans. Number 3 is appliances. I don't know about you, but I definitely know people that love every single gadget that comes out on, like as seen on TV to do different things in your kitchen. And if you use those things, then that's fine, keep them. But really simplify, like, what do you need? Do you need a food processor and a blender and a smoothie maker? Or does your blender really do all of that and you don't really ever use your food processor? Do you need a KitchenAid and then you still need a little hand mixer? Or does the KitchenAid work for both of those things? Do you actually ever eat toast, or could you just toast your toast in the oven? Do you use a microwave? This is the first time we've had a microwave since we lived in an apartment when we first got married. And the couple of things that I use it for, I don't need it for. Like, and I'm not going to get rid of it. It came with the house. But it's not something that, like, I would go out and really need, because all that time not having a microwave, we did just fine, because there are other ways to steam things. There's other ways to heat up water. Like, all of those things can be done on your stove. So simplify your appliances. Appliances take up a lot of room on your counters, clear head, make you want to cook. And they take up a lot of room in your cabinets too. So don't be afraid to get rid of some appliances. You may not need 2 crock pots. You may not need one especially for queso. Look at your appliances and simplify. And those are a great one to, if you are looking to make money to sell in yard sales, or again, to pass on to somebody else that might really want it and use it and love it. Number 4 is kitchen towels. A lot of people have that drawer that is busting full, and it's been me too before, of towels, of kitchen towels and oven mitts, and a lot of them are dingy and dirty and old, and we don't like them, or they don't go with the kitchen, and we've got new ones that do go with the kitchen, and yet we've held on to the old ones. So simplify your kitchen towels, make that drawer easier to get in and out of. And then my last one to do, and this isn't, remember, this is not a whole list, so there's an entire kitchen to simplify, but these are great areas to start with that are simple, that you can do in 15 minutes or less, is your spices. This goes back to being realistic with what kind of cook you are, what kind of food your family likes to eat, what kind of meals you like to prepare. Simplify your spices. Rather than having to dig through all these spices that you never use, or you use once a year, or you used on that one nice Pinterest recipe that your family didn't really end up liking, so you haven't made again, or that other recipes from allrecipes.com that turned out to be really complicated, so you're not going to make it again. Simplify your spices to what you actually use so that you can get to them and then put them back neatly, really, really simply. I just did this when we got back from Japan. Lucy had terrible jet lag, and so she'd be up from like midnight till 3 or 4 in the morning for the first 3 nights that we were home. And so I took that time with her awake, because she wanted to be in my arms and doing stuff, to go through my spice cabinet. And I was shocked. I don't have a lot of spices to begin with, but how many I had that it's like, what did I buy this for? I really never use this. So go through areas like that in your spice cabinet and get rid of the things that you're not actually going to use. It'll make cooking so much simpler, so much more enjoyable if you have a kitchen that welcomes you. And I promise you there's a lot of payoff in simplifying your kitchen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave down in the comments down below if you go and simplify something in your kitchen. Tell me how it is. Oh, hi Rosie. How your kitchen is working for you now after you've done that. And I will talk to you on my next video.